Rebecca Schaeffer had all the makings of a rising star. With her charming presence and undeniable talent, she captured the hearts of audiences with her role as Patti on the hit sitcom My Sister Sam.
Hi, I'm Patti Russell, and this is my sister Sam. I just moved in.
We haven't lived together since we were kids.
I was raised by our aunt and uncle.
Yeah, things sure have changed. I used to dress her. I can't wear this out in public.
This makes up for the haircut you gave me when I was 3.
But behind the glittering lights of Hollywood, something darker was at play, and one fan's obsession with Schaeffer would soon turn deadly. From celebrity stalking to tragic murder, Rebecca Schaeffer's story was a chilling wake-up call that reshaped the industry and changed laws nationwide. Rebecca Schaeffer was born on November 6, 1967, in Oregon, the only child of Benson and Dana Schaeffer. From an early age, she had a passion for drama, which first led her into the world of modeling. Shortly after working as a teenage model, she moved to New York City to broaden her acting opportunities. Her first major role came on the soap opera One Life to Live, along with other smaller parts here and there. However, her big break came in 1986, when she was cast as Patti in the CBS sitcom My Sister Sam, alongside Mork and Mindy star Pam Dauber. The show was meant to be a starring vehicle for Pam, but she insisted that it focus on the entire cast equally, which was just what Schaeffer wanted to hear. Rebecca Schaeffer relocated to California for the show, and it afforded her a nice apartment in West Hollywood. The show aired for 44 episodes between 1986 and 1988, during which time Schaeffer's popularity began to soar. She appeared on the cover of 17 magazine's March 1987 issue, and went on to star in several films, including 1989's Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills. It was even rumored she was in the running for the lead role in an upcoming romantic comedy called Pretty Woman. This level of fame began to take a dark turn when Robert Bardo became obsessed with Schaeffer, something he harbored for 3 years. He recorded every single episode of My Sister Sam and flooded her with fan letters, often quoting John Lennon. In response to one letter, Schaeffer sent a kind reply, telling him his message was among the nicest she had ever received, though her friends warned her that personal responses could be misinterpreted. Her father was a psychologist in Oregon, and he also saw no signs of danger in Bardo's letters, believing they were simply from another child seeking attention. But Bardo was no child. He was a 19-year-old man from Tucson, Arizona. In July of 1989, he boarded a Greyhound bus to Los Angeles, booked a cheap hotel room, and headed over to the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank with flowers and a teddy bear. He was determined to meet Rebecca Schaeffer, but a security guard had to escort him off the property, advising him to return home. The guard saw Bardo as just another harmless, lovesick fan, hoping to meet a celebrity, a situation they dealt with regularly. Bardo grew even more obsessive and distraught after seeing Schaeffer in a romantic scene in the film Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills, which was released just a few weeks earlier. He researched other celebrity stalkers and even visited the apartment building where John Lennon was killed. After reading about the knife attack on actress Teresa Saldana in 1982, in which her stalker hired a private investigator to find her, he realized he could do the same to track down Schaeffer. Bardo had a history of stalking other young female celebrities. He was first fixated on 13-year-old peace activist Samantha Smith, who had written a letter to the Soviet Union asking for peace in 1982. Ultimately, Samantha Smith died in a plane crash in 1985, leaving Bardo searching for someone new. His attention then shifted to pop stars Debbie Gibson and Tiffany, but that never escalated to stalking, because they were based on the East Coast. So Rebecca Schaeffer became his next target, and he found out where she lived by paying a private investigator $250. On the morning of July 18, 1989, Schaeffer was at her apartment in West Hollywood, waiting for a script to be delivered. She also had an audition later that day for the role of Mary, Michael Corleone's daughter, in The Godfather Part 3. When her doorbell rang around 9 a.m., she found Robert Bardo standing on the front step. He carried with him the autographed letter she had sent him, and they had a short conversation, which ended with her telling him to never come to her house again. Bardo then left for about an hour and had breakfast at a close-by diner. But then he made his way back to Schaeffer's house. At 10:15 in the morning, he rang her doorbell again, and when Schaeffer opened the door, he pulled out a gun and fatally shot her. He then fled the scene, eventually boarding a bus headed back to Tucson, Arizona. Rebecca Schaeffer's neighbor, Lynn Marta, who lived down the hall, heard the gunshot. She said, "The door shook. The wall shook. The cat jumped up and I fell to my knees and crawled into the bedroom." She could hear screams coming from outside as she dialed 911. When she finally opened her door, the smell of gunpowder was still in the air, and all that remained was Schaeffer on the ground, moaning faintly. Robert Bardo was arrested the next day in Tucson after he was found wandering aimlessly on Interstate 10, disrupting traffic. He quickly confessed to what he had done in California, leading to his extradition. Once back in LA, the case against Bardo was prosecuted by Marcia Clark, years before she would become well known for prosecuting O.J. Simpson. Bardo's defense chose a bench trial, relying heavily on his confession and a diagnosis of schizophrenia. However, Clark argued that his mental health did not excuse the premeditation behind Schaeffer's murder. During the 1991 trial, Clark called the head of security at Warner Brothers to testify. He detailed his team's previous encounters with Bardo, attempting to meet Schaeffer on multiple occasions, each time bringing flowers and gifts. At the time, stalkers were not seen as a serious threat, and guards didn't recognize the danger of that kind of behavior. Schaeffer had only been made aware of one of Bardo's visits to the studio, and was never told the full extent of all of his attempts. During the trial, Bardo claimed a U2 song called Exit influenced him to kill Rebecca Schaeffer. The song was even played in court, and Bardo could be seen lip-syncing the lyrics. Another interesting detail was that Bardo had with him a copy of Catcher in the Rye on the morning of the murder, just as Mark David Chapman had done when he shot John Lennon. Prior to Schaeffer's death, Bardo had even written to Chapman in prison, asking about how life was behind bars. The ease with which Bardo obtained Schaeffer's home address raised startling concerns. He had simply hired a private investigator who used DMV records to find out where she lived. It was that easy, Clark explained in court. Robert Bardo was convicted of killing Rebecca Schaeffer and was sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. In the wake of Schaeffer's killing, her My Sister Sam co-star Pam Dauber and the cast filmed a public service announcement advocating for gun control reform.
Rebecca Schaeffer was only 21 years old when her life was taken by a single shot from a handgun.
Dauber also championed legislation that restricted access to personal information through the DMV. Years earlier, both Dauber and her husband, actor Mark Harmon, had experienced frightening encounters with obsessed fans. The following year, California passed the first anti-stalking law in the U.S., paving the way for similar laws in all 50 states. Hollywood also began taking the threat of stalkers more seriously, recognizing the warning signs that had gone unnoticed in Rebecca Schaeffer's case. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and please consider subscribing and sharing Recollection Road Entertainment with someone you know. As always, thank you so much for watching.